Welcome to the Two Squirrel Podcast with your hosts, Wilbur and Liam.
All right, welcome to the Two Squirrels Podcast. We know we took a little hiatus, but we are back, and we're as zany and crazy as ever. So, I am Wilbur Lane. I got my co-host, Mr. Liam Pierce here, and today we're actually going to talk about the holidays and vacations and how, as an entrepreneur, how do you stay checked in at this time? So I'm going to give you a little background. I am a broker owner, and I've had
real estate.
brokerage of real estate. That's right.
Just help me out a little bit.
I've had my brokerage going into my third year as a broker owner. And the first couple years, I didn't keep this in mind. So later in the year, people tend to do what we call realtor vacation. So right around October, they sort of check out and they don't check back in until it starts warming up again until about mid-February. So if you're an owner, like you have to keep that in mind, because if your agents are taking vacations or sort of cutting back their business and all that, like the bills keep coming in, right? So you still got to pay for your office. You still got to pay your personal lifestyle bills and all of that. So that's what we're going to talk about today. It's like, how do you stay engaged and keep everything moving when everybody else is on vacation?
Yep. And I think this happens. I mean, I've been in real estate now a little over 10 years. We've run our real estate brokerage for 8 years total at the moment. And every damn fall, the October sickness, everybody's on vacation. Oh, the market's down. Yeah, the market's down because your ass stopped working. Like that's why it's down. That's why you don't have money. And then you always get the tip back of, oh man, Christmas is coming. I need some money. Christmas comes the same damn time every year. You know it's coming. Winter is coming. It's just how it works.
So that's that reference to Game of Thrones. Winter is coming. and so is the Night King in the form of bills, right?
Right.
Because if you're in this business, you also realize that most of the dues and everything you have associated with real estate come due at that same time. So Christmas is huge monetary wise. Like, you're putting out a lot of money during this time, Christmas and New Year. So you want to celebrate with family, you want to buy gifts, and then you have all these bills coming due at the same time. So personally yourself, how have you juggled that? Like, even in the beginning of your real estate business to now, like, how do you juggle all of that stuff?
I've always been kind of an opportunist in real estate. I like to watch what people are doing and do the complete opposite. Mm-hmm. Just to see what happens. And it's always worked really, really, really well for me.
So don't do what the masses are doing.
Yeah, exactly. It just, the way I saw it, I remember the first time I got my license, I was in a brokerage, I was sitting down and I'm watching everybody do the same damn thing. And then we'd have our monthly sales meeting, what I call the boredom meeting, mm-hmm. because like that could be an email. Let's just be real. Sales meeting could be an email. Mm-hmm. And I'm listening to these people and I know what they've done because I sat in the office next to them and I'm watching them go through this, and they're all doing about the same amount of business or less. Like, there's no one excelling because they're all doing the same damn thing. So for me, whenever I would see people doing that, I would do opposite and I'd get a result. I'd do it opposite and get a result because I was looking at it from a different angle. And it's the same thing with the fall season, specifically starting in October, the last quarter. Everybody wants to go on vacation in real estate. Oh, it's just the market's going down and, the typical nonsense. And I remember like, okay, well, you guys can take vacation. I'll take any referrals you got.
Right.
And I'd clean it up, and then I would go after more and more. And my successful most of the time of the year was October to December. I didn't have knockout years.
Right.
December was usually my biggest month. And, so I didn't have to sit there and I wasn't one of those people that said, oh man, Christmas is coming. How am I going to buy gifts? Like, I planned for that shit.
Right.
Let's go. Let's make it happen. Right.
So do you start your Christmas shopping in September?
We usually start in July, and then most of the time we're done in July. And then we get a few hot items in the fall, because if you know anything about retail, summer is when the stuff's really the cheapest, not during the shopping season. It's actually more expensive.
Right.
I've worked retail a lot of my life, and that's one thing I've learned over the years. So, when everybody else is
secret sales skills. So how do you and Tammy manage to hide those gifted?
Listen, we have this corridor under our steps. Sometimes we forget what's under the steps.
Just don't put your kids under there.
Well, it depends on the day. It really depends on the day. But I've always been one of those people. I don't like doing what the masses do. I'm not like everybody else. Just like you and I've talked many times, Will, I'm not for everybody. Even in my coaching business, I tell potential clients if it's not going to work out, like I'm not shy about that. Right. So I've always done my own thing. What about you, Will? What have you done to kind of keep you going during this time? You've been in the business a lot longer than I have.
So I'm really a planner. Like I lay everything out, and I haven't always been this way. Like earlier stages of my career, I probably just did what everybody else did, right? Like I'm just fumbling through it, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh crap, I got to pay my dues, and it's like most agents that's how they live their life, right? That's the path they're gonna take until they start putting systems in place where they don't have to do that no more. So. So that's basically what I got to a level where I had to put something in place where, I'm watching my finances. I know what's coming up. I know it's got to be paid. I know how to plan out and plan for trips. Like, for instance, my daughter wants to go to Disney for Christmas. So, and she told me that early in the year. So that went on the calendar, probably March or something.
Nice.
So I'm planning that out because I know, just like last year, come October, everybody's gonna take a break. So this Disney trip got to be paid for, right? So got to put that money aside. Maybe I open up a separate checking account and put money into that to make sure it's paid for. And don't touch that. Like you got to sort of trick yourself. I feel like if you own any kind of business, you got to sort of trick yourself to make sure these things are done, right? Or either hire somebody that's gonna keep you in line, like hire a personal trainer. Mm-hmm. Right? If you want to get in better shape, go hire somebody that can help you do that. So hire a financial advisor. Maybe they can help you do that. So you got to find ways to make sure you stay on task.
Yep. And the whole time you're telling that, which is fantastic, all I kept thinking of is a squirrel storing his nuts.
There you go for the winner.
And I'm sitting there like, okay, all right, this makes sense. I can relate to this being part of the two squirrels here. No, but you're right though. It's planning it out. Most of us don't plan it out, and it ties into we talked about 90 Days of Hell a couple episodes ago, and scheduling, having that written down, having that in order. That way, you're not surprised because the busier you get, guess what? The easier it is to forget things.
Right.
So if you're able to plan it out and you're able to knock it out, then there's no surprises.
That's right. I feel like too, when you have that sort of structure, when there are surprises, you can easily get off task, but easily get back on it too. So sometimes when you don't have that structure, I feel like once you get off task, it's hell trying to get back on task. Because everything starts pulling you to the right, to the left, and all you want to do is go in this straight line, right?
Man, when you said to the left, all I heard was Beyonce. To the left. I'm all over the place today. Hence the squirrel part. But you're right, though. It's very easy. And everybody listening, don't quote me on this, but what is it? It takes 2 weeks to get a habit formed, and like just 3 days to lose it.
Right.
And in most cases, let's be real, in this real estate, an hour and a half, and then it's gone.
Right.
You're like, wait a minute, you want to see a house? Okay. You're like, you just threw your entire schedule out, Dave, for a what if.
That's right.
Like, and then they come back like, oh, they didn't want to buy a house. No shit.
And you didn't get the things accomplished that you were supposed to get accomplished.
Correct. Now you just shot your whole day in the foot. Your mind's messed up. Your mindset's all over the place. Now you can't focus. Now you're blaming everything. But the actual reality is that you should have stuck to your schedule regardless. You should have said, hey, listen, I got an opening between 2 and 3 p.m. Let's make that work. If they say no, okay, go find another agent.
Yeah, it's that prioritizing and protecting part that I think most people struggle with. And I struggle with it because it's easy for someone to come grab me out of my office, and then all of a sudden I'm going off with them on a tangent, when I know I got something else that I need to do. So
Yep.
focusing on that prioritizing part and protecting that time. So if you say you're going to take your daughter to Disney World in December, that damn sure better happen. Right? Otherwise, you got some explaining to do.
Listen, you guys can visit Wild Will on OnlyFans.com to help the cause. He does a fantastic helicopter dance, I hear. But you're right, though. I mean, if you're going to put it on the calendar, especially something like that for your kid, your daughter, your son, whatever have you, you're committing, and it needs to be concrete. And this is stuff you should be doing for yourself, too. Right. If you say, listen, I'm not happy with myself, I'm a little overweight or something, and you mean that you're unhappy with yourself, then you can commit to 10-minute walking a day just to start off, right? You know, this whole take your time situation and actually do something about it. But I am curious, Will, since today is the October vacation episode, we still got, we'll craft that name a little better, but October vacation, what was probably the best October vacation you've ever taken when you were early in the game? And it could be the best thing or the worst thing. I'm kind of curious where it goes.
You know what? That's a good question. The best October vacation I've had. I don't know. I used to go to Vegas a lot. I'm going to be honest with you. So
he's like, I can't remember.
It probably has something to do with Vegas and me not remembering what happened for a whole entire week.
You guys remember the movie Hangover? It's based on Will's life.
So it probably has something to do with that. Yeah. I'm going to stick with that.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I like it.
What about you?
Honestly, man, I never really did the October vacation. It was usually mid to late December is when I did mine.
Yeah.
But I never really, and as you guys will listen, there's always two sides to this. So, you know, you should be pushing harder when people are taking time off so you can really build up and have a strong beginning of the year in real estate if we're focusing purely on that.
Right.
But the one thing I did, even when I took vacations, and I don't recommend anybody doing this, you may seem hype at the time, but it's the wrong thing to do. Trust me on this. I would work on vacations. Mm-hmm. Like I wouldn't turn it off. I'm like, no, I'm standing in line. I kid you not. I was standing in line for Mark Hamill's autograph, you know, Luke Skywalker for the people playing at home. And I'm standing in line and I'm brokeraging a deal between a buyer and a seller. You know, and that's great. And it sounds cool. And you're like, yeah, all right. But at the same time, I needed to be in the moment.
Right.
Like I rolled up to Mark. I was like, hey, what's going on? Put my arm around him and walk away.
How do you explain that to him when you get up there to sit on his lap?
I'll be like, listen, Mark, hold on. I got to take this. Are you looking to buy a house, Mark? Okay, then you can wait. You know, it was one of like, I'm about like 7 back and I just finished a deal right before it was my turn. Mm-hmm. And I was not going to walk through that door unless I was done. I was going to step aside, let people go in and I'll wait. But I should have been more in the moment because I can't get those moments back.
That's right.
Right. If you're taking that downtime, you're taking that true vacation, then be in the vacation. But also, you don't need to take a vacation in October. You can do it any other month if you want to, or you can do it in October. It's completely up to you.
Right.
But you got to be willing to commit to that. You got to make sense out of it. You know, like I'm really big on right now is I do the 90 Days of Hell, or there's a book called the 12-week work year. Mm-hmm. And it's 90 days. If you guys don't know, 90 days is 12 weeks. Every 90 days, I take time off. So that way I can get my sanity. I can recharge my batteries. That's how I do it. So that way I'm not killing my business. I'm busting my ass. I'm doing my thing. And then I'm taking, 3 or 4 days off or even a week off.
So
I've taken 2 weeks off.
Quick question. Yeah. Do you reassess your business also in those intervals? Because
every 90 days, yes.
Yeah, I tend to do that as well. Like I reassess my business pretty much every quarter, and I think that helps too. That helps maintain your focus. If something works, maybe you amp that up a little bit. If it's not working, then you get rid of it, right?
Yep. And I'm glad you brought that up because right now, especially in real estate, you see everybody scrambling to do business planning. I'm like, it's too late. Literally, you should have done it all year, and this should be the recapping because you're going into a new quarter starting in October. This should be your recapping of all the other business planning, not business planning now. You've already failed. What are you going to do about it? You're like, oh, well, I had a shitty year. I had a really good year. Okay, great. But what did you actually change? Just like Will said, if something's working really well, you want to start allocating your resources. If it's working really well, put more into it. If it's not, maybe it's time to cut back on it. Or maybe really assess it and say, am I actually putting the effort into that area?
That's right.
So I agree wholeheartedly with Will. I think you should recalibrate your business every freaking quarter.
So for those, because you said something important, you said that, all right, for those of us who've got to now, and we really haven't planned, like done any business planning, what do we do? What do we do moving forward? What do you advise?
Say that one more time.
So for those of us who've kind of sat and got behind the 8 ball and didn't do any business planning all year, we know we're coming into this last quarter. And so I've already, alerted my team, hey, we need to do some business planning sessions because I already know they didn't do it.
Yep.
So what do we do? Like, how do you approach that with your team, with yourself? Like, if they haven't done it, like, where do you start?
Honestly, well, I try to set the pace. You're coming in the game late. You're coming in the last quarter of the game, all right, and expecting to win when you've been getting your ass handed to you all year. Doesn't matter if you were successful or not. You literally are getting your ass handed to you because you haven't paid attention.
So you should have called Phil Jackson a long time ago.
100%. Call damn Phil. Exactly. Phil Jackson was the man. So in the last quarter, here's what typically happens in a lot of businesses, not just real estate.
Yeah.
In the last quarter, everybody comes in. They're trying to bring the heat. They're bringing the heat so hot that when the new quarter starts in January, they're completely burnt out. Mm-hmm. And then that causes a complete burnout the first to second quarter of their business. Every time. I've seen this time and time again with realtors specifically and brokerages. And let me say this, and if you guys listen to this, don't like it, I'm going to tell you, kiss my ass. The reality is, if you are business planning in the last quarter, you've already failed. Now it's time to step it up and figure it out and handle it like a fucking boss. Otherwise, you're scrambling and you're already lost.
So if you've been watching this podcast, if you've been following the Two Squirrels podcast, you know Liam was really serious about that because he leaned into the camera.
I was going to snatch the mic up like, listen.
So take everything he just said to heart because he really meant that. And that was a really good point. Like now's the time to ante up, right?
It really is. And honestly, whether it was my agents or it was one of my coaching clients, they say, hey, I want to really do business planning. I'm like, okay, well, you're supposed to do it, 3 other times this year. Why didn't do it? Okay, well, I'm not doing it with you. You couldn't dedicate the time to yourself to get your business going. Mm-hmm. This is on you. This needs to be a lesson. So what are you going to do about it? You can sit there and complain, well, you're not doing business plan. You have a business plan all year and you seem to be working fine.
Yeah.
So maybe assess yourself, see what the hell's wrong, what's working, what's not working, and more importantly, understanding why it's working and why it's not working.
Right.
Then put that in motion. You don't even need a business plan at this point. You should have done it all year. This is a recap.
Yeah, recap and deep dive, right?
Yeah. Yeah, just say what's working, what's not.
Yeah.
But sitting there building a business plan right now, what is wrong? Like that's just so wrong on so many levels. If you understand any element of business, that's wrong. And it's time to step it up. If you are one of the people, and again, I'm coming back to the squirrels, if you're one of the people that didn't start storing your nuts in the spring, you're certainly not going to do it now, right? You're going to be too frantic. And I believe there was an old cartoon about that, about like a grasshopper who played his fiddle all day and day long while everybody else is getting ready for winter, which is like several months. And dude keeps saying, oh, I'm enjoying my time. I'm enjoying my time. Well, guess what? His ass was really cold come winter.
Well, the ants was out foraging and getting the
exactly
stuff, and
yeah. So if that's the case, well, you got some changes to make. You got like some dramatic changes, and that's why when people get in that vacation mode, a lot of times people psychologically will get in that vacation mode because they're shutting down. They're like, well, shit, I didn't do the work I was supposed to do, so I don't even have a shot now, so I'm just shutting down. But in reality, you need to ramp it back up.
So your golden nut for today is people should consistently be working on their business plan throughout the year. It shouldn't be something that hits them and says, oh, it's October. I got to sit down and really work on my 2024. It's like, this is something you should have been changing and growing with and manipulating the whole time.
Yes. Yeah. Because if you're letting, you either control the business or the business controls you, right? And if you are really, really trying to pay attention to what's working, what's not working, and more importantly, why it's working and why it's not working, then we need to do that quarterly. You need to do that every 90 days, AKA quarterly, AKA 12 weeks. It's what you need to do in order to stay on task. Because what happens, let's use real estate. Say you come out the gate hot in January, and it's very rare people do, but when they do, they're hot. They're coming in, they hit their first quarter, numbers look good. That's all they really look at. Most realtors don't look at what's going out and what's going in, ROI essentially. They're just doing it. They're like, hey, money's coming in. That's all they care about. Then they get to the second quarter, still burning hot. But then if you actually look at numbers comparison, there's a downgrade. They're burning out. They're burning too hot, too frequently. They didn't take the pause to recalibrate, to recharge, to understand their actual business. And then by going into their third quarter, they have no clue what the hell they did to really make them successful. In most cases, not all. They have no clue what the hell's going on. And then when things do get a little rough towards the fall, there's no plan because they've been running by the seat of their pants. It's disorganization. There's no schedule. There's nothing. You're just missing all of the basic elements of running your business.
Right.
And then you come into the final quarter and everybody's like, oh, I know how to fix it. I'm going to business plan. You already fucked up. That's fine if you want a business plan now, but I can promise you the chance of you actually doing it in January is not very high. You didn't do it all year.
How do they fix that? Like, how do they, like, again, like, let's say I've been that guy that didn't do it. Because everything you said, it's just cyclical, right? There's ups and downs in this business. You go one month you go set have five closes, and the next month you may not have it.
Yep.
So if I'm at this point now, what do I do?
Honestly, it's probably best to just take at least a couple days off, like 3 days off or something, and just look at your business. Go back the whole year, look at what was working, what didn't work. And if you can't figure that out, you have a world of problems that you got to dig through.
Right.
Because if you've just been going nonstop because it's been working, there's never been a pause. There's never been an understanding. You don't even know the purpose of why you're doing it other than to make money, essentially.
Right.
Right. And you can have the heart of gold and you're really in this business to help people. And that's beautiful. And that's what you should be doing. However, you didn't sit back. You didn't look at the plan. You didn't try to understand what you've done. So I would personally take a couple days off, look at your business, see what was working, what isn't working, why the difference now. And if you actually are honest with yourself, you can make some changes. You still have time, but if you do a full business planning right now that you're projecting for all of next year without understanding really where you've been, it's going to fail.
Do you think most agents actually know where their business comes from?
No, not at all. Listen, I talk to hundreds and hundreds of agents per month, hundreds. I would even say thousands in most cases. And I would say less than 1% actually know where their business comes from. And even that, there's still not a full identifier on that. It's just like, oh, well, it's all my past business. Okay, that's a cop-out. That's a generic response. Like, who and where are they coming from? Like, who are these people who are giving these referrals if it's SOI, like past SOI? It's very rare you come across people. And when you do, those are really badass producers that can literally leave their business for fucking 90 days and their business is still running.
Right.
And I have several friends like that. They are monsters in this business, in a good way, of course. And they can literally leave for months at a time and the business doesn't fall. It keeps going.
It can operate without them.
It can operate at least for a limited time.
Yeah.
It can operate without them. Okay. So I would highly suggest, to go back to your question on what to do, is just take a few days off. I would not go into vacation mode right now. When I said winter coming, obviously that, first people think obviously Game of Thrones. get a little excited there. Where's Jon Snow? And then people think, well, yeah, no shit. Winter is literally coming.
Right.
I'm not meaning that. In most businesses, you got your summer season and your spring season and even your fall season where business is running really good.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of that's been following along in real estate, you know there's massive changes coming. Okay? That's what I mean with winter. You're coming into the long winter night. Is things are going to change, things are going to get hard, and this is the best time ever to really knuckle down and understand, one, your purpose of why you're doing it, two, what's working, what isn't. Diving into that, because the people that make it through this long winter are going to be the people that last in this business as long as they want. And that's in any business. Every business is about to face the long winter. Every single business out there. And now's the time to really pay attention, because majority of us have been in the long summer for the past 3 years. Specifically real estate. You didn't really have to do anything. You didn't even have to have a skill set. Most of the time you had to have a pulse.
That's right.
And you got transactions. And you still might be in a market that's pretty hot. It's about to turn cold. It's coming. It's inevitable.
Do you think we've given the public the perception that we go on vacation during the winter months as real estate agents?
Oh, damn right.
They think we don't work for 3-4 months at a time.
Right. They're like, they got it easy. Meanwhile, as a 20-year-old person that just hair's completely white, from all the stress. I think the problem is realtors like to celebrate and they like to put things out there, but it gives the wrong perception. Mm-hmm. So I see it a lot. Sold house in 3 days. What you're really telling people is that they didn't need you.
Mm.
Don't post that shit. No one gives a damn, first off, if it's sold in 3 days. And I love following that stuff on social media, because then I look at the responses and it's very little. Like, no one gives a shit. And more particularly, your seller, all they care is, hey, I'm cashing out, I'm making some money, etc.
I have to send it.
What are your toys doing?
Policy doesn't renew till November 18th, so it's too close. And the current.
All right.
You know what? We're not going to edit that out.
I don't know, but from the satellite signal from outer space or something. I don't know.
All of a sudden, the Siri HomePod things just start. Someone's call just came in. Sounded pretty interesting, to tell you the truth. Yeah, so we're going to run with that. But anyway, back, and not to get too far off the topic, and as you guys know listening, the squirrels, that's what we do. We get off topic, we go down avenues that they need explored. But
if you really want to turn your business, if we were actually live, there you go.
Oh, dude, I'm telling you, we got to do a live episode. It'd be amazing. But you guys have to look at it. There's still time to fix some things. There's still time to make tweaks. But don't get caught up in the business planning if you haven't did it all year. Okay? You need to just look and see what's working and what's not working. That in itself is a business plan.
Right.
That's a true business plan. There's nothing worse than these realtors. They sit down. They're like, okay, the brokers specifically, I'm calling all of you out. Sitting down, I'm going to piss off a lot of people, but it's cool. When they come out and they say, oh, okay, here's our business plan. How many transactions would you like to close? The average agent says 25. The average realtor only does 6. That business plan's really working, isn't it?
So I do this with my people, right? I bring them in, we sit down, we have the whole business.
We've done it before. I'm kicking myself in the teeth on this one too. It's cool.
So after they see this podcast, they're going to be like, but Liam said that was bullshit.
I told you, dude, I'm going to get hit. By the time people listen, I'm going to get so much hate mail. It's going to be beautiful, because I'm telling you this. If you guys do send me hate mail, I'm posting that shit all over social media. It's going to be fantastic.
But ultimately, at the end of the day, what we're trying to say is you got to do what works for you and realize what works for you, right?
Correct.
So maybe it's not the whole planned out session, but you got to do something. Like, you can't leave it up to doing nothing and continuing the same trail that you're on. Like, I hate when we get to the end of the year and people say they forgot that they got to pay their dues or something like that. Like you knew that was coming. Like that's a part of your business. Like you knew that was coming. So in order to keep your license, that's got to be paid. So.
Yep. And again, even coming back to the October vacation thing, Will, since that starts your final quarter, that's why I'm saying, listen, there's nothing wrong with taking a vacation when you need to take a vacation. I'm a big supporter of slowing down, recharging, et cetera. So don't cross that, guys. But what I am saying is, if you haven't done the proper work for your business all year, you probably shouldn't take the vacation right now. Mm-hmm. If anything, you should really sit down and embrace for the very long winter night. Embrace, learn what works, what doesn't work, like Will said. Really understanding at some point that you want to make your business better. That alone will help you earn the vacation properly.
Right.
And I would recommend, if you start getting that pattern, every 12 weeks, take a week off, take 2 weeks off, go on vacation, totally turn everything off, put everything in place. Mm-hmm. There's a whole structure that you can do, set it in place so that way when you leave, your business isn't tanking. Because unfortunately, whether they're broker owners, realtors that are in this business, everybody considers themselves an entrepreneur, which is complete false. You're not an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur goes and buys a business, creates a business, and sells the business. They don't work for the business. You may have entrepreneurial aspects, and that's great, but the reality is it comes down to, are you an owner of your business or are you an operator? Mm-hmm. The difference is an operator works for their own business. The business technically owns them. If that's the case, you're not a business owner, even if you legally own it. So when you're about to take that October vacation, really look at your business and say, should I go on vacation right now, or do I have a lot of work to do?
That's right.
Right? And I do this all the time to myself. If one of our agents comes up to me and we talk business planning, I never ask them how many transactions they want to do. I'm not concerned about that. And it's not necessarily wrong, but it's the wrong pathway to think, in my strict opinion. The way I would sit down with them is to say, look, let's see what you've done. What have you been doing? What's working? What's not working? Why is it working? Why is it not working? Explore that, because then we can make the small tweaks that makes the world of difference. I'll give you an example. I coached an agent who was an okay, decent producer. And I just by reprogramming that type of thought process, they went from an okay producer to a top producer within 90 days because we made the changes that actually needed changed. And you could do that with yourself, whether you're a low producing agent or a top producing agent. It's just, you got to understand where you've been in order to know where you're going.
All right, let's give somebody a tidbit. If I'm an agent, I have not sold a house this year, not one single house. What's my business plan?
Okay, I would say, all right, well, first off, how many hours do you think you work per week in real estate?
So I'm gonna throw a number out there. Let's just say 20.
Okay, 20. Now you're being fair, because most agents say, oh, I work 40 or 50 hours a week.
Right. Okay.
And I say, great. And how many do you have pending? Oh, I have none. Well, then you're really terrible at this if you truly work 40 to 50 hours a week and have zero pending. Right. You're atrocious. You probably quit. Go work at McDonald's. You're going to make more money that way.
That's
okay. Right. No offense to anybody that works at McDonald's. That was my first job. It was pure hell, though. If once they're realistic about their time, and again, everybody over exaggerates the time they work in any of their business, not just real estate. I try to find out their mindset on that. Where are you working? How often are you working? And then I say, okay, great. You said you work 40 hours, but you have no pending. So something's clearly wrong. So tell me what you think you actually do. Make me a list. They make a list. On average, and I'm not even fluffing numbers, on average, someone that claims 40 to 50 hours a week really only does 12 hours production per week, roughly 12 to 13. Mm-hmm. And then that explains low production, because you're not really putting enough time in, especially if you're brand new to the business, to really get a foothold.
Right.
So I always go right back to mindset. This is the first thing, which we just talked about, is like getting your head out of your ass so you can really understand what you do. And then I talk scheduling. Now, I'm not talking just time blocking, but chunking as well. I combine the two constantly. Chunking and time blocking are hand in hand with me. And if you don't know what those are, you can always shoot me an email at info@liampierce.com or just Google it. But I work on the mindset, fix the schedule, and then once that happens, then we talk about really what the hell you're going to do business-wise. what will work for you and what won't, because I need to understand the game. Even if you're a brand new agent, I need to understand a little bit of your personality, your mindset, to see where you want to go. But none of us are taught any of this from a very early age on exactly how to move forward. You ever hear, I mean, Will, I know you heard it because I fucking heard it my whole life. It's hustle hard, right? No pain, no gain. That is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. What are you hustling hard at? Like, you're not hustling hard. You're thinking hard, but you're not actually doing anything.
Right.
Right? If you want to grind hard and you really want to push to the next level, then you put in the proper hours and you don't waste time on bullshit. And until you understand what is bullshit, you have to do the work to figure out what it is and what it isn't.
I agree 100% with that.
Yeah, right? Like, so I tell people, they're like, "Oh, I need a billboard here to slot in real estate." And I'm like, "A billboard? What is this, the 1950s? And they're like, "Yeah, I need a billboard." Okay, well, great. Why? That's how I can get clients. First off, that's market awareness. That is not money producing activities.
It's funny that you brought that up because I actually told my team I want to get some billboards and I want to put my Frenchie's face on it. And, and on that billboard, I wanted to say, do I need to actually put my face on a billboard to sell your house?
Right. Yeah. Because when was the last time you looked at a billboard and said, you know what, I want to call that number?
I have never done it.
Never done that, right? Now, don't get me wrong. There are certain demographics, like age demographics, that would, and I get that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, if you're forking out money, you can't expect a return. It's like putting, realtors that get those realtor magazines in their face. And I'm like, no one cares. You know who looks at realtor magazines? Other real estate agents. The common consumer does not. They don't give a shit about what your face is in that magazine.
Right.
But I hear that all the time, and that's not money producing. That's market awareness, right? That's not even full marketing. That's just market awareness saying, hey, this is what I do. Mm-hmm. That's an equivalent to an oversized business card. You know what most people do with business cards? They throw them away.
Yep.
I go to national events all the time. People give me business cards. There's not one that goes in my phone. I instantly tell them I don't want it or I throw it away. And not to be rude, but I'm not going to put it in my phone.
Right.
If you want your number in my phone, do a digital business card so I can bump it, scan it, something like that, because then it goes in and I don't have to do any of the damn work. Right. So when you're looking at your money of how to generate money for your business, you got to look at what makes money. You can't just like, oh, you know what? I'm going to put 10 G's on Zillow, but I'm not going to call anybody. Well, shit, if you're going to do that, I can give you my PayPal and you can just donate to me. Right? It's the same fluidity. So if you really want to work and you want to turn up the last quarter, you need to look at what you've been doing for the past year. And you need to be honest with yourself. And you need to accept the results that you get when you're being honest with yourself. Most of us will lie to ourselves because it's a protection. It's a defense mechanism. Mm-hmm. But we have to look at ourselves and be honest and say, yeah, I really dropped the ball, or I did really amazing, or I was really good at that, but I wasn't the best at this. You got to do that exploratory so you can understand where you want to go next year. There's nothing wrong with, like Will says, he sits down with his agents and says, hey, how many transactions you're closing? Very traditional stuff. There's nothing wrong with that per se. But if you don't know where you've been, you're not going to even have an idea. You're going to throw some generic ass number, 12, 25, 26, something like that.
Which a lot of them do. Like they don't understand the power behind the number itself, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. It's just throwing.
Yeah.
I had a brand new agent sit down with me one time and said, I want to do 250 transactions. I said, great, that's fantastic. And it's definitely doable, but what are you going to do? And they're like, well, I'm going to talk to people. Great. Who? Oh, my neighbors. Do you know 250 neighbors? Like, the point is that you got to explore that. If you're going to say something like that, I do believe it's achievable. I know agents that do that type of production, but you got to actually put the time in to make it happen.
Yeah.
And how are you going to do it?
They have to make the number real for them. And what I do is I make them to convert everything to money. Because let's be honest, the money is what's going to change their life.
Yeah.
And so when they come in and they give me the transaction number, like, why that number? Like, how does that number affect you? How does that convert to something that you can physically use in order to change your life, somebody else's life, something? Because that's what's going to keep you motivated. Mm-hmm. So if you come in and I'm just going to use your number. You say you want to sell 200 to 50 houses next year. Like, are you just saying that, or is that number going to do something for you? So that's a little bit of how I do my sessions with them.
Yep. And what Will's talking about is creating the purpose.
Yeah.
It's the reasoning behind it. It's your why, essentially, for those people that play in the home game. It's the why you want to do it, why you want to achieve it, that sort of thing. And that is valuable, honestly. It's very valuable how Will's doing it. So no matter how you guys start really looking at your business planning this time of year or your vacations, have a reason behind it, essentially. Mm-hmm. Try to make sense out of it. Don't just do it because you feel you need to do it. And I've been hearing it for years, year after year in real estate specifically around this time. Business is going down. Going to take some time off. Well, yeah, it's because you stopped working. You don't want your business to go down, you go to work. That's how it is. Work works if it works. So I think, coming back to the October vacation, if you feel you've earned it, take the vacation. If you aren't prepared for the beginning of the year, you really need to think the vacation. Because in a blink of an eye, the new year starts. So does the holidays, because it's bang, bang holidays. You got every damn holiday from now until whatever for 3 months solid. Because if you think the NAR has their hands in your pockets as a real estate agent, just wait until the retail stores get a hold of you.
That's right.
Okay, so no, the October vacation, it's that mindset. It truly is. And Will, what would you say that one of the maybe a going away pieces for this particular episode to help people avoid that mindset trap?
I would just say don't completely check out.
Okay.
I do feel like there's a number of people that work for themselves that get to this part of the year and they completely check out. And I mean, we've said it a number of times, if you're not doing something today, you're not going to have something tomorrow. So if you want something 90 days from today, you need to keep working, right?
Yes.
So if you check out in October, November, December, you're starting from square one in January.
Yes. And listen, everybody, we're going to wrap up this episode, but we were all over the place with several things, but it all tied into a nice bow with a nut in the middle for you, just all of you, okay? So just don't forget, if you enjoyed our wild and really crazy antics, you can visit us at the2squirreledpodcast.com and follow us on all major channels. And of course, you can always find us on social media as well. Yeah. I'm Liam Pierce. This is my awesome co-host, Wild Wilbur Lane. And we look forward to our next episode. Everybody take care.
Awesome.
Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and subscribe to the YouTube channel.